I'm Michael Lodi, and I will present this work with Sbaraglia and Simone Martini, titled Cryptography in Grade 10, Core Ideas with Snap and Unplugged. But the presentation is not moving. So why teaching cryptography? Why we want to teach cryptography? Of course, it is fundamental in today's digital society. Think about the COVID pandemic without cryptography. And it is essential for understanding the world and being active and informed citizen about, for example, electronic vote, cryptocurrencies, and so on. And also, it is at the heart of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity that is present in many K-12 curricula, like CSTA or the UK curriculum or the DComp framework, European framework. So it is recognized as very important. And most of all, students and teachers identify cryptography as an interesting, fun, and engaging topic in the world of computer science. From a pedagogical point of view, we strongly believe in the importance and effectiveness of active learning methodologies. And so we design interactive hands-on activities to be meaningful for students and fun. In particular, we aim to teach core ideas rather than technical details. We are fully aware that to teach correctly an idea, at least we believe some technical details are important. You cannot be always abstract and theoretical without learning some details. But we focus on the core ideas. This project is called Big Ideas of Cryptography. So we designed this learning path. Students encounter representative crypto system. We choose carefully only some representative crypto systems from classical to modern one. I say this because I've seen a lot of cryptography courses where a lot of classical crypto systems are taught, and they are basically all the same, monoalphabetic and polyalphabetic, and that's it. But, so we instead choose only some representative ones because we want students to experience those crypto system characteristics and limitations through hands-on activities, and I will soon give examples. But let me stress the most important point for me of our work. The introduction of a new scheme is always triggered by the necessity, the need to overcome the limitations of the previous one. So students feel this need, experience this limitation, and feel the need to overcome it. So I believe this is the most important result of our work. So I will go deeper in it. Of course, as everyone, we start with scissor cipher. Because it's, of course, a basic example of symmetric cryptography, and it's easy to show the crypto system elements, key, plain text, ciphertext, encryption, and so on. And moreover, it's very easy to see how and why scissor cipher is attackable both in a brute force way and with a frequency analysis. So we move directly to the one-time text cipher, because it is easy to teach it as a different Caesar key for each letter, encrypt every letter with a different Caesar key, and that's it. And surprisingly, this brings to perfect security, perfect secrecy. So it is resistant to brute force and frequency attack. You can easily see that you don't have any clues about the key or the plain text from the cipher. But of course, as we know, it has big problems. First of all, the key distribution problem. How we exchange all these keys around very long to each one time, so we change every time. And also efficiency problem, feasibility. How do we generate a random number? We know that it is a hard task. And so we show them a simple substitution permutation network, because it is an example of a modern symmetric block crypto system. In particular, we want to show them the idea of avalanche effect of confusion and diffusion. So if you change a bit in the message or in the key, the ciphertext will be strongly changed. And this is the first time where students actually see that in modern cryptography, you're not messing around with letters, but with bits. In fact, we strongly believe that modern cryptography wouldn't exist, of course, without computer science and computers in general. But still, this has the key distribution problem. So we now move to the biggest maybe idea of cryptography, of modern cryptography, the different key agreement protocol. And in this case, we only want students to grasp the idea that with a function that is easy to calculate and hard to invert, you can surprisingly generate a shared secret over a public insecure channel. This surprises a lot of students, but still has some flaws, person in the middle attack. So we move in a more abstract way, because for grade 10 students, it tends to become quite challenging. The idea of public key secrecy and authentication. We just give them the idea of how it's possible to have these two keys. And we make them multiply to large numbers in Python, and see that it's almost immediate, while then trying to factorize them, even with the fastest algorithm, would take years, probably. The one that we choose took years to be factorized, their product. So it's still computationally expensive, and so we finish with the idea of hybrid crypto system, because at the beginning of the course, we talk with students about instant messaging, end-to-end encryption. And so we show them that with an authentication scheme, a different key exchange, and then a symmetric cipher, we can bring together all the pieces. Of course, we could go on quantum cryptography, for example, but this is it for a short course. In particular, the short course was in a mathematical lyceum, after school program focused on interdisciplinarity between math and other disciplines, both scientific and humanities. Unfortunately, it has been done completely online in an emergency setting during the COVID pandemic, with Google Meet and all the Google education tools that the school uses. More concretely, which tools we created for this course? What we call Snap Crypto Playgrounds. What are these playgrounds? Simply Snap project with a very limited set of visible blocks, visible instructions. Because we wanted students to learn by manipulating these computational objects. We would say that these are kind of a form of task-specific programming languages, or teaspoon languages, as Mark Gusdial calls, because are very small languages to teach something that is outside computer science. In this case, it's cryptography, but it is not programming. So that can be learned very quickly and used in our activity. Of course, we could choose general purpose programming languages, even educational one, like Logo, Scratch, Snap. But that would require a lot to master about programming before actually manipulating the computational object related to cryptography. So we choose just. Then we designed a remote unplugged activity about the different key exchange that I will show. And finally, some animations to teach the most abstract class. So I will show here a Snap playground. As you can see, there are a few blocks in the left column. They are the only primitives that the students have. They have some data, in particular, an encrypted Latin text. In Italy, students learn Latin and don't like it a lot. So they were trying to decipher these texts. It was framed like it is the text of a test that the teacher wants to exchange secretly, and so on. And so they have blocks to sort a table, to calculate letter frequency, to encrypt and decrypt with Caesar cipher with a chosen key, and to draw this histogram of the frequencies. And tinkering around, as you can see here, the student is trying to decipher it, but it's not yet done. Of course, in other playgrounds, for example, in the one-time pad, the plot would be flat. The brute force would be very, very computationally expensive, just for 3 characters, for example. When they do brute force, they realize that they got all the possible combination of n characters, and so on. So the exploration in these kind of playgrounds is quite free. But of course, there is a goal. But we also ask them some guiding questions to scaffold this experience in some sense. So, for example, how many possible encryption are for this word and that word? For example, in CISA is always the number of the length of the alphabet, for example. Or what is the most frequent letter in Italian, in the decrypted text, and so on. And this showed to be very, very effective because we pointed our students towards the specific characteristic we want to show, but they felt very free to think and explore and spend a lot of time in these playgrounds. The other thing that students liked a lot is this Fielman remote unplugged experience. So we were remote, so we created a simple Snap app, I would say, without giving them the source code in this case. And the app guided them to generate a shared secret color. But of course, we were online. So where do they have to communicate? Only in the public chat of the meeting. So this would be a perfect metaphor of a public channel, because as you can see, every pair of students is using the same chat to agree on the public color, to exchange their calculated color. And effectively, as you can see, for example, here, the two, Alice and Bob, created the same color, and this was very, very surprising. In the chat, there is also Eve, the eavesdropper, of course, is reading everything but cannot find the color. But then, of course, we had to explain what's behind this kind of stuff. In particular, we see that usually the Fielman is taught either with colors or with small numbers. So we try to mix this to use both, because we find out that in Snap, colors are numbers. Okay, so I hope that from home, can you hear me? Probably the connection dropped for 1 second. How did we evaluate these kind of activities? We wrote a 2,000-word summary of all the big ideas that I've tried to summarize at the beginning. And but then in 43 places, we put an incorrect and a correct choice. Some easy, some very tricky. So, and we were very, very, very happy with the results because most of the students got very high marks in this kind of activity. They also said that the course was great. They liked it a lot, as you can see from all the green from the screen. And maybe let's see if this is okay. More specifically, the Fielman color mixing activity was really appreciated. Also the animations, and also the activity with the Snap playground. Also, some students found them not so easy. While the homeworks and the readings we gave them were not so appreciated.
What's the the colors? It was not.
Okay. Because it's covered, yeah. Wait a minute. No, sorry. So this is the legend. Yes. Most importantly, students found that this course helped them a lot understanding the role of computer science, math, and cryptography in society, and sparked the interest, especially in computer science and in cryptography, a little less in math, which maybe the people from the mathematical lyceum are not so happy about. But finally, they gave us 3 comments. One of them also encrypted it, fortunately with a scissor cipher, that were very positive, and the most praised thing was the space for discussion with us and free exploration. Okay. So to conclude, positive aspects. Of course, the students were very engaged. We had good final results. From a negative point of view, also students said that the course was too short. So I don't know if this is a negative aspect, actually, because they liked it a lot. The homework otherwise was seemed to be hard and boring. And we had experienced quite a lot of instructor blindness. We couldn't see their screen while they're doing the Snap activities because we were online. Some people never talked, and so we never come to help them. We were not able to provide for every student, for the weaker student in particular, an optimal guidance during these specific snap activities. So we suggest you to give space to discussion and exploration, to add systems, a new system in the course only if they are instrumental for big ideas. Otherwise, we would leave them out. And in particular, balance the freedom and the guidance of snap activities related to the context you have, if you are in presence, if you are online, and so on. We were fortunate to be able to do a second implementation of the course, which is not in the paper, but we are analyzing the data, the next year in presence, face-to-face. So we added a gentle introduction to Snap, like creating a very small video game, and an interactive substitution permutation network, because in the first iteration that was actually no homework. And most importantly, since the negative feedback, we changed the homework. In the second iteration, we asked them at the end of each lecture to invent a more secure crypto system than the one they saw in that lecture, of course, before being taught how in the history of cryptography that happened. And the answers were surprising. I'm analyzing the data, so probably I will report at some point about it. In perspective, we also would like to create activities that require to look inside the blocks, because now the blocks are black box, actually, they are black box. But if you look now inside, you will see some JavaScript, a lot of complicated Snap blocks. So it would be overwhelming for a 10th grader. So we want to create a stack of notional machines. So when you look inside the block, you only go one step down the abstraction ladder, and so you are not overwhelmed by the details. So finally, I wanted just to show you very quickly the substitution permutation network that we created in a spreadsheet. As you can see, probably more at home than here in presence. When we change a single letter in the plain text, a lot of bits changes in the ciphertext. And again, here it was a way for students to experiment, explore, and try to grasp the characteristic, the most important aspects of substitution permutation. So I think I have concluded. I would like to thank ITiCSE Special Project 2020 for funding this work. And all the material is with an open license available on this very hard to memorize website, but it is in the paper. So if you use it, modify it, have feedback, please reach us, because we are eager to listen to your comment and feedback and see what you will do with this material. So thank you.
Really awesome stuff. I thank you first, all of the presenters. Thank you, and let's go for questions. Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, can we have two questions, please?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is regarding the organizational part. So do I understand correctly, when they first time meet DH, they get a block which does necessary magic for to the
So actually, the blocks, the playground for the moment are only for Caesar cipher and one-time pad.
So how do they do this public place?
This actually is done as I will replay it.
Yeah.
They have only an interactive app. So they're actually only user of the thing that you see on the left and on the right. And the character tells them, choose a secret color, tell the secret color to the other people.
And these things are kind of given to them.
Yeah, it's given to them. So they even cannot.
Later comes the next slide where you started to explain.
Yes, because when they did this activity, we start to reflect. For example,
okay.
we could say, Eve has read all the conversation. Now, what Eve can do to find the secret color? Yeah. And we have an animation that I don't have here, like this, without numbers. Yeah. And even as you can see, it's, the red
All this
one.
math is already hidden for them.
Sorry.
The math which just appeared there is hidden.
At the beginning is hidden, and then we do like a little mathematical focus about modular.
10th graders, can they understand computation that's called in the ring?
I mean, it's an after-school program for people particularly interested in math. And so I believe that in grade 9, they did a small course like this, but about modular arithmetic. And then we introduced the idea. For example, they don't know what a logarithm is. So we introduced this idea like the inverse of exponential.
And this is my next question,
Yeah.
actually. Thank you. It's this is a course for. It's a elective course. You have to choose. Now, can you envision that general population would get something from this? Being a mandatory?
So I believe, of course, I mean, maybe if you go up, the Lyceum in Italy is the more theoretical path of high school, where a lot of math and science is in. So for sure, maybe not in 10, but in 12th grade, for example, or in 13th, which is the last.
Because you mentioned GeekComp, right? And there is quite some mentioning about security, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this would perfectly match that competence in some sense. So that's the reason why I'm asking.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I believe that especially the SNAP activities were accessible to everyone. I mean, even they never programmed before, for example. So at the beginning, they were a little lost in snapping blocks together and so on, but there is no much programming skill needed about this. Of course, the difference is more theoretical. We actually tried. I have a Snap playground with blocks that say a cipher green with, but of course you cannot expect them to find out the algorithm. So I mean, we can have new difference in the classroom, but
that was the reason for my first question.
Yeah. So of course we decided not to use that and instead to use just a more abstract thing.
Please.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, okay.
This one is about this cryptography playground, as you call it, I think. So you offered you provide a possibility to use these blocks as primitives to try and use them, but there is no actually programming task proposed, right? Whereas that could be one thing when you go into how these are implemented. So that would require some programming understanding, some programming skills. Am I understanding?
Yeah, for example, one of these blocks encrypt with key, if I don't remember correctly. If you look inside, you don't see actually all the snap blocks, but a layer of abstraction. So for example, you see like something, snap block that I created for each character, encrypt this and add to the result. Let's say
they don't need to know actually
variables, and so this was the idea. But
yes, I think it's a nice idea, and also to try to go into the details at a further step. Yeah, thanks. And the second question was about the assessment or evaluation. You said so. You at the end you try to assess whether their knowledge of the principle and the basic concept. You didn't assess skills, what they learned to do, but just mostly is that?
Yeah, because the course was elective without grades, and I mean we started consciously with the idea of leaving them the big ideas rather than the details.
So that's consistent with your
actually, so we actually
and you get that they actually kind of grasp.
Of course, I mean, most of the people got most of the result right. Also, in the second iteration is even better. So we think they understood, but of course they could have looked at the slides or looked online because it was not done in the classroom. So we don't really could say, but from the face-to-face exploration. Iteration from the question they did, from the thing that they ask in the discussion, we would say that the ideas were understood. This was our impression.
It was an assessment in itinerary.
This one that I'm showing, no, but in face-to-face iteration, we usually begin the lesson with a recap, with a discussion, with what do you suggest to overcome this discussion? And from the answer, we clearly see, this is for another paper because I'm analyzing the data. We can actually see the progression in their suggestion. At the beginning, they try to completely hide the key, saying, I will put the key in a place that only me and you know because it's our loved place and so on. And then progressing, they start to make a more feasible suggestion and so on. So we felt that they were in getting the ideas. This is all I have.
So one more question. Nothing in Zoom. I will throw one. So it was kind of like briefly asked also before. So have you thought about bringing more programming into this because it's kind of like on a higher abstraction level? And so I believe that's somewhat context specific certainly, but have you thought about adding more programming components into this?
So I didn't go into the detail of the task-specific programming languages before, but we started with the idea of teaching both cryptography and computational thinking and ideas of programming. But soon we realized that most of the energy would be spent to learn how to program and less to focus on the big ideas of cryptography. So actually, we are happy with this level. However, as I said, answering the other question, of course, some students were curious. Some students opened the website, the Snap website. They said, "But we have thousands of blocks here. Why we gave only?" So yeah, the idea is to try to think about the activity where maybe you need to use a for loop, you need to combine, because it's a very functional way of programming at the moment. No, all function without a sequence or a state. There is no state actually in most of these blocks. So yeah, we're thinking about it, but yeah, more in the sense of gradually making them look inside the block and say, okay, so how this block encrypts something with a scissor cipher. It takes every character, it adds a number, it converts it back to a character and combines the result and returns the result. So at this level, not more, we would say, for beginners, for like activities not for professional or not for computer scientists, but for all people, for societal reasons, to learn something about computer science and cryptography rather than be technical.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So let's have a round of applause and